Hey, TYT Sports. I'm Heather Ankeny, joined by RotoWire.com expert, fantasy football expert of all things, Chris Liss, and Ben Mankiewicz, of course.
Yeah.
And Chris's favorite, Beating the Book. We're going to pick a few games each week, talk about them against the spread. What do you think? Giants this week?
Yeah, week one's always crazy because you don't really know anything, right? I mean, there's the whole season's off season's transpired. You know, there's some personnel changes, but football's such a team game. You know, personnel isn't like baseball where they add a guy and you kind of know what's going to happen. They've got to click with the other players. My biggest thing in week one is take teams that I think are a little undervalued. The Giants are my first one because they had such a bad preseason offensively that I think that line went all the way up to 5. Their defense is very good.
They're playing the Lions. Giants
They're
at
playing
home against the Lions.
At Detroit. No, they're in Detroit.
They're in Detroit.
I think that team has gotten overhyped. I don't believe in Matt Stafford very much. I don't think their pass defense is very good. We'll see if the disastrous Eli preseason carries over. I think that's a little bit of noise. I don't think preseason matters that much, and their defense is good. I'm taking the Giants and the points.
Yeah, it's. I love the Giants this week, in part because any opportunity. Well, it wasn't just a bad preseason; it was a bad season followed by a bad preseason. But if I'm going to need the one shot for this because they're going against the Lions, and the Lions had a situation where they had a horrible coach, a horrific coach, and they thought they'd replace him with perhaps the only guy out there who might be worse. So they've replaced Jim Schwartz with Jim Caldwell, who looks alarmed at every single football play that happens in front of him. So you get the Giants, a competent team with a veteran quarterback and a commitment to run the ball and a good defense, getting 5 points against a team that is capable of giving any game away at any time, despite their talent level. I love the Giants.
Giants were 7-3 in the last half of last year too.
Right. They were not an incompetent team down the stretch. Right.
All right. So Bills versus Bears. Bills 6.5.
Yeah, the Bills were no doormat last year. I mean, the Bills were, they played good defense. They lost Kiko Alonso, who's a key linebacker, but they still have a lot of their pass rush, which was excellent. And those running backs, I think, are going to carve up Chicago. Chicago's run D was the worst in the NFL, or the second worst. They in Dallas are so bad it's hard to tell which one's worse. And they have a great offense, but I think people overvalue offense. They overvalue the flashy plays. I'll take the points all day.
And that line is moving. That line we have it at 6.5 here, but I'm looking at one site where it's already up to 7.
Oh, really?
People like the Bears in that game. A team with that defense should not be a 7-point favorite over an NFL football team. That just shouldn't be the case. And you get in a second year with E.J. Manuel, and again an ability to run the ball with really 3 running backs. I mean, we get to fantasy. I like the idea of Bryce Brown. So I love the Bills. I think the Bills can win that game.
How about Denver Colts? Denver minus 7.5 home versus the Colts.
Crept up to 7.5. I think I chose it when it was like 6.5, 7. But I still kind of like Denver at home in the thin air. You know, it's hard to get in football shape during the preseason to get really that 100% in shape before you play the games. And it is a big advantage, I think, early in the season for them to be in that thin air where you're out of breath. Secondly, there's the Super Bowl hangover thing where a lot of the Super Bowl losers tank, but they reloaded. They got Aqib Talib. They got DeMarcus Ware. Peyton's going to be sharp early on. Colts defense isn't very good. They're missing, what's his name, the pass rusher, Robert Mathis, who's their best pass rusher. I just think Broncos probably win by, I'm a little scared of Andrew Luck, but I'd be more scared in Survivor, but in spread, I'll lay the points there.
What's the score going to be?
Something like 33-24 or something like that.
Yeah, I was about to say 34-24. Yeah. Well, I tell you what I like in this game. I wouldn't bet this game just because the Colts are good and you're getting more than a touchdown. I'd want to see how the Broncos respond. That said, whatever the Broncos in the second half are now, that's a game that, I could see them finding themselves down and coming back and winning the game kind of going away. So if I had to bet that game, I'd take the Broncos, but I'd leave it alone.
All right. Moving on, Atlanta versus the Saints. Atlanta +3.
Even last year when Atlanta was horrendous and the Saints were good, when they went, both games were close.
Yeah,
but when
really
they went into Atlanta, it was very close. Atlanta easily could have won that game. Yep. Now Atlanta gets Julio Jones back. Roddy White's not gimpy anymore. The defense is still terrible. But I think that's a rivalry game in Atlanta, and they're getting 3, and they're healthy. I just think that's one of the easiest calls on the board.
Yeah, it's crazy not to take the Falcons at home getting 3. Those teams they might be fairly evenly matched. The Falcons were not a 3-3. That said, they didn't look great in the preseason, but they can't run the ball at all. But who knows? Maybe somebody emerges. But yeah, that game, as evenly matched as they are, that seems like a no-brainer for the Falcons.
Jets Raiders.
Yeah, I think
the Raiders.
Well, I'm fading the Raiders. Right? I think the Jets might be good. I know their secondary is bad, and that's their big question mark right now. But I'm not sure that Derek Carr just coming in cold, not really having any NFL experience against Rex Ryan, who blitzes like crazy, very tricky, destroys rookie quarterbacks. It's not just a rookie quarterback. This is his first start ever and didn't even practice as the one through a lot of the preseason. I think it's a tough place to play there. And I think Geno Smith might be okay, and the Raiders' defense is usually terrible. So I like the Jets to win pretty easily.
I think that I feel like the Raiders have an emerging competence, and I don't like the Jets. I've lost a lot of money betting against the Jets because I think they're horrible. So I would not fade the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to win 6 games this year, maybe 7, 5 to 7 games. I think they're going to be a competent team. I don't think they're going to be a joke.
Really?
But that said, I would not be willing to put my money on that in week 1. Like, I might be wrong. I'm going to wait and see.
You're avoiding.
I'm avoiding that game, but I certainly wouldn't put money on the Jets.
All right, so to recap your picks, we've got Giants, +5, Bills, Broncos, Atlanta, Jets.
Yeah.
Good luck.
2-2-1.
Yeah.
and you can read
the Broncos I'm the tie on.
You can read Chris's Beating the Book article Tuesday, Wednesday at rotowire.com. What time?
Tuesday night this week, rotowire.com/TYT. You'll see the graphic, and that's a free trial. Yes, you can check it out.
Very cool.